September from Orofino. We've been living in Thailand since 2010, and in 2020, in the middle of the year, we came back because of the COVID issues over there. And normally every summer we come to the States and we drive around the States, maybe 12 to 20,000 mile road trip, advocating for the work that God's doing in Thailand. And I wanted to tell you how we moved to Thailand, but today I'm going to talk to you about what we're doing in Thailand. In the future, maybe there'll be time to talk about how God called us and how He got us there. But I want to make one point in that when we left for Thailand, we left my parents' home in Idaho. Actually, it was our home at that time. We sold our home over the year after a few years, but we left our home with $900 and one-way tickets to go to a land that we didn't know to find out if God's word could be trusted. Can we stand on those promises? If we claim those promises, if we seek first His kingdom, will He really take care of our needs? And so the stories I'm going to talk about looks like God is doing great things, and I want to make sure that He gets the glory. It's nothing that we did by selling out here and going. But I will say that we did start this mission by going with Jesus for Asia on a tour for, what they call it, Mission Vision Tour. Our family went for 3 months to Thailand and India in 2007. And so it's because of their ministry that I'm standing here today. And sometime later I can share how all that played out. But I want to talk to you today about some of the people that we're working with. We moved to Thailand November 2010, so it's been a little over 13 years. We lived there for 10 years, and then my children, they moved back. They were there 9 years, and they wanted to come back to the States and learn more about their own country. They were 8 and 11 when we moved there, so they weren't they were ready to come back and learn about their roots where they grew up. But they now both live in Spokane, so we're close. We get to see them quite a bit. We ended up moving to a city called Chiang Mai. It's in the northern part of Thailand. It's about 450 miles north of Bangkok, which is the largest city in Thailand. Chiang Mai has about 1.2 million people. And during the year, another 1.5 million people come and visit. It's a travel center of the world. There's many people from every culture come to Chiang Mai to holiday. But the countries we're working in are Thailand and Myanmar. They're located in the 1040 window, which is an area where I think a little over half the people in the world live in this one area. And that's the area that also the most people live in that have never heard the gospel. They don't have access to the gospel, many of them. And these are some of the people that we're working with in Thailand and Myanmar also. We're told that the Gospel Commission is the great missionary charter of Christ's kingdom. The disciples were to work earnestly for souls, giving to all the invitation of mercy. They were not to wait for the people to come to them. They were to go to the people with their message. And as when we got to Thailand and we were trying to learn the language, and it's a very difficult language. There's 5 tones for one word. Well, actually it's 5 or 7 words just by saying, like the word cow is rice. But if you say cow, 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 you've just said 7 different words. And they say it really fast, and it's really difficult to figure out what tone they said that word in. And so we were having a struggle learning the language. We thought missionaries, they go to the foreign land, they learn the language, and then maybe they do Bible studies and they plant a church. They try to build up the local people. But I was thinking, Jesus will come before I can learn this language. And we've got to do something different. We thought, we were praying, Lord, why are we here? What are you calling us to do? And as we were praying, I found out the Adventist church had been in Thailand since 1905. And that was a huge relief. I thought, then God didn't send me here to finish the work. He's had people working here for years. And he must have local people that already know the language. They already know how to sleep in a bamboo hut with bugs crawling around all night. And they can handle the humidity and the food and the changes. And we started praying for God to put us in contact with the people who were committed to the mission of the church, who had been working for him for this time. Well, in Thailand, and Myanmar, there's over 108 million people who have never heard the gospel. They can't walk down to the corner and find a Bible in the store. It's just not available. There's very little literature. The church, our church in Thailand does not have a lot of funding to print literature and do a lot of work. And that's what I believe God is asking us here in America to do, is help the people in the foreign lands. Josiah, is that right? Josiah talked about India. India is in the same situation. The people can't afford to spread the gospel in the way that we can here in America. And so I believe God sent me there to partner with the locals to help them do the work that God's put on their heart for all these years. Well, to do that, we ended up partnering with 3 pastors over the last 13 years now. And through those pastors, they've all been working for the church 30 plus years. They're all retired. Actually, Pastor Soon Torn retired last July, but the mission didn't have a replacement for him, so they asked him to work again, and so he's back in work. But the method we're using is to train gospel workers and establish centers of influences. And those centers of influences, our definition is, it's a place for gospel workers to connect with people in their daily lives in as many ways as possible to do them good. It's a place where the light of Jesus can shine in his glorious way. We want a center where people, when they come and they visit, they recognize something's different about the people that work there. The work that we've been doing through these 3 pastors, it covers most of the north of Bangkok area, and we've helped a lot of schools. We do clinics and health centers, schools and dormitories, media centers, and churches. And through all of those buildings, the main purpose is we train workers, and then we place them in these areas where they can make a better impact because they have a resource to draw the people in. But I want to just tell you a little bit about each pastor. Pastor Soon Torn and his wife, they've been doing radio most of their career, but he works for the mission for the last 30 years. We built a radio station for him and his wife in 2018, and through that station they work in an area called Ubon. It might be the 3rd largest city in Thailand. Actually, it's the 4th. And so they're covering quite a large area with the radio. But Sampong, during the week, Monday through Thursday, she does a 3-hour live program. The rest of the time, the radio station is running the AWR programming. But on Friday, she goes out into the community and she just visits the people. She promotes the radio station. She talks to the ones that are already listening. We do a lot of work with poor people there and giving food and supplies and support. Well, one day she was walking through one of the villages and there was a man laying on the ground drunk, and she walked up to him and she looked at him and she said, "Uncle, would you like a better life?" And he rolled over and he looked at her. "What did you say?" would you like a better life? He said, I've tried to stop drinking 5 times, and I always end up right here. I don't know, I can't do it. And she said, well, if you will come to my church tomorrow, I'll show you how to have a better life. And he said, well, I don't have a vehicle. I don't know how far your church is. It's probably too far to walk. I don't think I can come. She said, you're right, it is far, but I'll come and pick you up. And since I'm going to drive over and pick you up, why don't you ask some of your friends to come with you? And so Sabbath morning, this man and 4 of his friends were sitting at the pickup location and waiting. And while they're waiting, one of the friends said, hey, did you say we're going to a church? And he thought, yeah, I think she said we're going to be at a church. Well, there's not going to be alcohol there, is there? And we better go get some now before she comes and have a drink before she gets here. Well, when she got there, they were kind of already drunk, and she helped him in the car, took him to church and set him in the back row and said, now when church is over, we're going to feed you a meal. And when that meal's done, my husband and I are going to tell you how to have a better life. And they agreed, okay, we'll have lunch. And so they ate. After lunch, Sampong and Pastor Suntorn came over and talked with them. And they said, so do you want to have a better life? All of them said, yes, we want a better life. And so she said, we're going to take you home, and tomorrow we're going to pick you up and bring you to our property, and we're going to camp with you all week and show you how to have a better life. And they brought these 5 men to a property they have next door to the church, and they camped with them. And all week they loved these men. If they saw they were struggling and maybe showing some signs of sickness, they would go over, they'd massage them, they'd pray with them, they would talk to them. And by the end of the week, they were all sober and wanting to study the Bible. And during that time, the man on the left, and the whitish hair, the second from the left, he's the uncle that was laying on the ground. And he's also the man that's being baptized in the yellow shirt later. And I think all 5 have been baptized since this happened. But this is the work that we want to connect with. We want to work with the people who already know. Pastor Suntorn grew up a Buddhist. He understands how to reach Buddhists. And it's good for missionaries to go when you're younger. I was 49 when I went, and I just couldn't get the language. But if we go when we're younger, you can have a much better opportunity or chance to make a connection like this. Pastor Sudhijet and his wife live closer to Chiang Mai. They actually, our family lived with them on this property well, we still have a home there. I'll be going there in February. And through their program, we're running a 10-day health program called The Maker Heals. The Maker is God. God knows, He created our body. He knows how to heal our body. And so the program, it talks about the 8 laws of health, but it's really about 98% 3 angels' messages. We want the people who come are, we have backslidden Adventists who want to learn more about how to come back to God. We have Adventists, we have all the denominations of churches and Buddhists, and they come there wanting to know about health, but they learn about a God who cares more about them and has a plan for their future. And so this year we haven't run as many programs, but in the past we run a program here about every other month, and then we do a program on the road on the other months. Pastor Sudhijet and his wife travel around to churches and they do programs. We have about, I think since 2018, we've had about 1,500 people go through the program. And there are baptisms, results of that. The main person that we've been working with, and the first person to come to us about, I think it was 2011, was Pastor Pamor. His wife is on the far end of the group of kids, and these kids stay in one of our dorms. It's in Chiang Mai. It's a place where children who either their parents just became Adventists, and it's easier for the children to learn the Adventist lifestyle with other children, so we bring them there, mainly to get an education, but it also gives us a chance to show them what an Adventist, how an Adventist lives, and how to connect themselves with God. So Pastor Pamor came to me and he said, "Will you help me? He had been working for the church for 40 years. He retired. And the mission came to him and said, "Will you be the president?" Well, in those 40 years that he had been working, he had raised up schools and churches and had Bible workers. And when I met him, he had 42 little mission jungle bamboo schools. I don't know if all of them were bamboo, but most of them were. And 220 teachers and 35 Bible workers. There were 5,000 kids in the system. And he said, "If I become the president of the mission, can the mission support these projects?" And they said, "No way. It's way more than, we can never support that kind of work." So he declined on the offer, and he started a foundation called the Education Opportunity Foundation. Now, 8 years later, I show up, and he comes to me, and he says, "Will you help me start a Bible training school? My people," he said, "I'm getting old. I could die any time. And my people don't understand the mission of the church. They don't understand how to use the health work as an entering wedge for the gospel." So he said, "Will you help me start a school, and will you do the fundraising that I've been doing so I can stay and teach?" Well, his fundraising was huge. I'm just new here. I had nothing. I didn't know how to even help him, but I said, "I'll pray, I'll write a letter, and we'll see what God can do." And here's how God can use $900 in one-way tickets to expand his work. 6 months before Pastor Pamor talked to me, asked me to help him, a man from Canada had come down to Chiang Mai. We met him at the church with a couple other of his traveling friends, and we brought him to our house on Sabbath. We spent the day. During that gathering, we learned that the man liked carving, wood carving and woodwork. And so around Chiang Mai, there's some villages that specialize in this. And I asked him, I told him I could take him there on Sunday and we could look through some of this stuff. And he said that'd be great. So we spent about 6 hours getting to know each other and looking at carvings. Well, after that, he went back to Canada. He started getting our newsletter, but at the time it was 1 letter a month. So he got 6 newsletters. And then I put out a letter that said, "We want to start a Bible school for the Karen people group." And the next day he wrote me and said, "I'm the president of Gospel Outreach Canada, and we want to be involved in your project." And we didn't know that at the time, but they ended up supporting that school for the first 5 years. It allowed us to train. Well, we put all of his 35 Bible workers through the system, plus most of his school teachers. And nowadays, it's still running. It started in 2013. The groups are about this size, 20 to 30 people. But it's still preparing people to give the gospel. And the program is very nice. It's before Pastor Pamor, he didn't have enough money. He could afford to bring 10 of his workers to his home, and he would go through the health message and try to show them how to do massage and hydrotherapy. And after 30 days, he'd send them away, and none of them really knew what to do. And so for years, he had been trying to get them to use it, and they hadn't. They didn't know really how to use it. So this school, we decided it would be 10 months long. The first 6 months, they're working on how to present the Bible, practicing some of those. I probably have pictures. Also, there might be some pictures coming, but they're showing them how to do massage, how to do hydrotherapy, how to use some of the local herbs and medicines that they can find in the jungle. And then in the last 4 months, they're going into villages and they're practicing what they learn. They can come back on Sabbath night and ask questions. We can still keep working with them. But on Friday morning, we send them out into the villages by groups. And we say, your group's going there, you're going there, your group's going over there, and don't come back till tomorrow night. You figure out what you're going to eat and where you're going to stay while you're there. And these students are mostly from Myanmar, across the river from where our school is in Thailand. They say, wait, we don't know anyone in these villages. What do you want us to do? Where will we stay? And we tell them, just go to the first person you meet and ask them, have you anyone in this village who is sick? And for sure they know someone who's sick. They're going to take you there, and you just start there and see what God will do for you. Well, Sunday evening we have testimony time. Every single student that went out has a testimony to give on that night, and they're just bubbling over with enthusiasm. One student would say something like, we gave this lady a hot foot bath and a massage, and she said we could sleep under her hut. And most of their homes are built up on stilts, and there's usually a platform below made of bamboo. And another one, this family wanted to worship with us, and this man, we helped him and he gave us food. And they're just learning that it's not about what we can do, but it's about what God will do if we step out of our comfort zone and trust him. And so as one of the Bible workers, Min So, he was one of Pastor Pamore's original 35. After the first year of the course, he came and he was telling me, he said before we learned how to do this health work, we'd go into the village. It was very difficult to get into have anyone listen to us read the Bible. But now when we go, the villagers, they all come out. They're excited that we're there. They're sharing with us. They want to know what we know. One villager asked him, he said, how did you learn all of this health stuff? And so told him, well, it's here in my Bible. Do you want to see it? And he said, yes, I didn't know the Christian book said this kind of stuff. And so after the study, he said, what else does it talk about? And so it opens the way. The health message, we're 100% proved that it does work. And that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm just going to share some stories. Well, after Min So finished the course, he thought, I'm going to go reach a new territory. I'm going to go into an area where we haven't been to yet, and I want to start a school. So he went and found a property. He went to the village, it was about a quarter mile away, and asked the headman, can I use that property to start a school? And the headman said, you can use the property, but no one will come to your school, because we know you're a Christian, and we don't like Christians here. And Min So called my coworker and told her he was discouraged. We decided, let's send some some students from our school. We'll send them with him to the village for 3-day health expo, and we'll just see what happens. And so we did this. We went there. They worked with the people. They taught them some health principles, and they would go and visit door to door in the homes. Well, at the end of the process, they had 14 kids to start his school with. And so that first year, he taught 14 kids, and in his off time, he would go into the homes in the village, and by the end of the year, he had met everyone in the village. The second year, he had 65 students in his school. And today, this year, I think he has 150 kids this year, but it just keeps growing. And I know there's 6 teachers now, where he did have 2, and it just keeps going. We know that the medical missionary work is the right hand of the gospel. It's necessary for the advancement of the cause of God. Every city is to be entered by workers trained to do medical missionary work. As the right hand of the third angel's message, God's method of treating disease will open doors for the entrance of present truth. And this is really what we're promoting there. We're using the health work. There's nothing like the health work we do over here. It's very simple. They use charcoal, and they have a fruit over there called guava, the guava tree. If we take the leaves and we boil them, and then we use that water as a natural antiseptic. And they just teach the villagers how to take care of themselves and live a better life. Here, I'm going to skim through these pretty fast, but this is the Bible school, one of the classes. They're learning how to make charcoal poultices, and this is a cabbage poultice that they put on burns. A lot of people get burned, especially this time of year. It can get down to 55 degrees at night, and for us, 55 is not that bad, but for them, it's like 20, and so their houses are open, and they get really cold, so they'll sleep by their fire. Most of the bamboo homes have like a sandbox in the middle of it where they have a fire and they cook, and they'll sleep by that at night during the winter, and they'll roll into the fire. There's constant burn things happening, but these students are learning how to, it's really just have an opportunity to get in front of people. It's not about the health, it's about sharing the gospel. These two girls, Nada and Pamular, they come from a Baptist village about 12 hours away from our school, but their auntie used to live in the refugee camp, and she was transferred to Australia, and she learned about Adventism in the refugee camp. Well, they wanted to study the Bible more, so the auntie was encouraging them, go to our school, and you'll learn all about the Bible. And they said, oh, we can't go there. Our parents will never let us go learn about the Bible from an Adventist school. The auntie said, well, it's more than a Bible school. It's a health center. You'll learn how to serve people and how to take care of their health needs. And so their parents allowed them to come based on the health side of the story. And during that time, they learned everything the others learning, but they're also hearing the Bible. They're going out, they're practicing, and they are with us for 12 months. So they had plenty of opportunity, but both of them did get baptized. And when they were baptized, they asked Pastor Pramor at the end of the program, what do? We don't want to worship on Sunday. But our whole village is going to be mad at us. What do we do? And the pastor told them, worship on Sabbath, keep the Sabbath, and go with your family to church, and be with your family and friends, and to influence how you can. During the week, practice this medical missionary work, and let's just pray and see how God works. Well, it was like the following year, she sent me some pictures, and these were pictures of a house church full of people, and I emailed her back. I said, who are all these people? She said, we have 21 people meeting in our church with us on Sabbaths now, and it's all my family. Her whole family had converted to Adventism and are working to influence the rest of the village. But these kind of stories get me excited about how I can help while I'm standing here talking to you. I just got an email just before I left for church this morning. I got pictures from Pastor Pramor. He said, I just baptized these 6 people from one of our schools, and this other group that were just baptized were the work of our Bible students this year. And so while I'm standing here, people are learning about Jesus, and that's what I really love about being able to support the local rather than go and try to start a program of my own. We saw when we first got there, we saw missionaries coming. They would one group tried to start a school, and it was good. They had a lot of students, but they hired the locals, and every time they would leave to come to the States to promote, it would fall apart. And the locals really never owned the project, and they never really on board with some of our techniques. That would be in my next talk if I talk again about how we got there. There's a lot to learn about cultures and how to move from this culture to a different culture is pretty shocking. It can be. This last village, this may be the last story I want to talk about, and I'll skim through it fast, but Dula Burki Health Center, we started right after we got back in 2020 from COVID. We started building this center. The bottom, it's over here. It's located in the mountains just outside of this village called Dulaberkey. It's about an hour and a half off of a paved road, and so it takes, actually I think it takes an hour and 20 minutes to drive from the paved highway back to this village. But we started with this house, the staff house is down in the front. It was smaller than that, we've enlarged it since, and then the top building is the community center and church. There's no Adventists in the area, so it's a community center at this point. And we've taught 3-month cooking or sewing classes there just to help get to know the community. Jope is the boy, and Naped is the girl, and both of them are graduates from our Bible school. Naped came to the school right after she graduated from academy. She came to our Bible school, and she is just amazing. We recognized right away that she was going to be a leader, and so we've sent her to Malaysia for another 1.5 years of medical missionary training. She came to America for 4 months for a medical missionary training. Now her and her husband, she's the Bible teacher, she's the health teacher, and her husband is the Bible teacher at our school this last year. But those mountains that their center overlook are full of villages that have never heard of Jesus. There's 300 villages scattered throughout those mountains that they don't know the Adventist message. I think there may be some other Christians in the area, but Jope, when they move to this area, the way we break into an area is not by going in and doing evangelism. We go in and we see what the needs of the village is. Often it starts with the water system. This one started with they helped in the rice fields. This picture, this golden that you see on the hillside, that's these ripe rice field. They're mountain rice. They're ripe, ready to pick. And they started teaching the kids. They just do whatever they can to make friends and let people know who they are and why they're there. They teach music. They do English classes. We were going to need a water system. We found out that the village only had 2,000 gallons of water, I think, for the whole village. It was 1,000. I'm not sure how many it was. They had 2 tanks. And in those tanks, it wasn't enough water to supply the whole village. So the spring that they were getting the water from is 1.5 miles up the mountain from where the village is. And it just wasn't meeting the needs of the village. And we knew this is not going to be enough water for us to come into this system also. So we talked to the people in the village, the head man, and told him, we will supply the materials to improve your water system if the village will do the work. And so they agreed to it. We gave them the materials. The whole village was out there with their shovels, and they dug 1.5 mile long trench up to this spring head way up in the mountain. They built a cistern up there, and it started at 4-inch pipe and then eventually came down to 2-inch or 2.5 down to the river, and they have 6 tanks now instead of 2. And so it's plenty of water for us to do our programs. They're starting, after the water system went in, Jope and Naped were like heroes to the community, and they started wanting to know more about who they were and what they knew. And so they started doing simple health treatments. They invited them to meet with them on Sabbath. They started with a small group. I think there was just these 4. There's a grandma and 3 moms and a bunch of kids, and that's how it started. But they would meet every Sabbath. And over time, it's grown. I think there's about 20 villagers meeting with them now. But just March, they had their first baptism there also. And so it was, there's not a lot of water. We just bought I don't know if it's a swimming pool or what it is. It's deep, I think, or they're kneeling down. But and we just baptize wherever they can. So these 3 ladies were baptized. The 2 shorter ones, they're actually the moms. The tall one is one of the daughters. But we're told that It's not our capabilities that we possess that are ever will have that will give you success. It's that which the Lord can do for you. We need to have far less confidence in what man can do and far more confidence in what God can do for every believing soul. This is my favorite part. God is longing for us to reach after him by faith. He longs for us to have it. I'm sorry, I got to put my glasses on. It's tiny print. He longs to have you expect great things from him. He longs to give you understanding in temporal as well as spiritual matters. He can sharpen the intellect. He can give tact and skill. Put your talents into the work and ask God for wisdom, and it will be given to you. Pastor Pamor asked if I could help him start a school so he could train his people. This is the next generation to take his place. There's more. There's 40 teachers besides this, but these are the main core that kind of lead out with most of the work that's being done now. And through them, they have the vision and the know-how to go and start projects and the confidence. They know that God will take care of their needs, and they know that they could go wherever the door is opened, and they don't hesitate. When one of them find an opportunity, they call us and we see how we can help them to get it done. But we're also told that with almost impatient or eagerness, the angels wait for our cooperation. For man must be the channel to communicate with man. And when we give ourselves to Christ in wholehearted devotion, angels rejoice that they may speak through our voice to reveal God's love. Angels are waiting. God has an army of angels waiting to help us. And many times it's scary to step out of our comfort zone. But we can trust God's word. We can trust that he has the support that we need to go before us and to go behind us. And it's not our job to save the souls. It's our job to present the message. And so we're teaching them how to present the message, how to get their foot in the door, and to win their hearts so that they'll learn more about God. So thank you. I hope that you've been blessed, and I hope you're inspired to think about how you can work in your communities where you are. We're not all called to go overseas and do mission work. We're not all called to move to the big cities to do mission work, but there's a work for us to do wherever we are. And so that's my appeal to you today, is to pray and see how God will use you to reach a soul in your neighborhood, in your community. Thanks. I think we have a closing song, or what's next? Yeah.